Cool.
Foxy 107, 104, the real sound of the triangle. This is Karen Clark hanging out with you on this Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And we're going to do something a little different this morning because Roland Martin just popped in, just chilling in the studio. How you doing, Roland?
All good. Glad to be here. Literally just landed an hour ago.
Glad to have you back. We hadn't had you here since you did women's empowerment back in the day.
2009.
Yeah,
So.
you were on the Black Men Revealed panel and all that good
I don't
stuff.
know why they invited brother back. I'm just saying.
What did you do?
I'm just saying, like 16 years, really?
Oh my God. I got to talk to somebody.
Really?
Listen, I have a couple of connections here. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this before you.
No,
go
hold
on.
up. I'm sorry. Hold. Let me go through it. No, it wasn't '09. Here's why. No, it was 2000. It was 2014. And here's why it's crazy. Why I remember when I landed and I grabbed the Wall Street Journal. There was an article that dealt with that $23.09 billion in small business loans had been handed out in 2013, and black people only got $385 million. And I immediately called the White House and I said, "Y'all have got to have somebody on my Tom Jones show tomorrow." And that was Monday, and my TV One show. Mm-hmm. So it was 2000. It was 2014. It was 11 years ago. So that was. I mean, obviously, I remember those numbers.
Of course.
But there was a 6 column across the front, and I immediately called and I was like, "Oh, we gonna have a conversation about this.
About
23.09 billion, and we just got 385 million." So yes, so it was 2014.
Now, you are in town for something very specific,
Yep.
and we're going to talk about St. Aug and why you're here. But I have to ask you this quick question. I hate to bring up negative things, but sometimes we got to do it.
Right.
How are you, so going into this round of the presidency that we're going into, I had to switch some things up for myself, for my mental health, just to do it differently. So the last time I used to wake up every morning, I would literally wake up, roll over, grab my phone, like, "Oh Lord,
Nope.
what's happening?
Nope.
Are we at war? What's going on?"
I never do that.
And this time I don't, I've muted everything.
Right.
I wake up and I just go on about my business.
Right.
I don't wake up in a panic. How have you changed your approach this
Didn't
time
change.
around, or is it the same?
No, it didn't change. So for me, what happens is a lot of people, they operate that way. Mm-hmm. So my show, Roland Martin Unfiltered, is live at 6 p.m. Eastern. Mm-hmm. So I've had people call me and they're like, "Are you watching this news conference?" No. I can't believe you're not watching it. I'll see stuff later. Mm-hmm. Because I'm up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. Because one, I typically get home by 10. I eat. Then I'm winding down. It takes me like 5 hours to come down. Mm-hmm. So if I am consuming the information and people are texting me and calling me, then I am not sharp and fresh at 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. So imagine that starts at 9 a.m. So now 9 hours you've expended all of this energy, mm-hmm. but it serves no purpose. Mm-hmm. I want to be 100% sharp, ready to go at 6 p.m. So I don't even do any of that. My process typically is when I wake up 10:30, 11 a.m.
Okay.
I will literally go sit on the couch in my bedroom and will just read information, read social media, but also read stories for an hour.
Okay.
Just to get a sense of what's happening in the news. Mm-hmm. I don't waste my time with gossip, entertainment, BS like that. Mm-hmm. And then I'll get up. I will then go record my commentaries, radio commentaries. Then I will work out. Then I'll do if I have any Zooms or whatever. And then I leave the house by 4:45. Get to the studio at 5:55. Go live at 6. Do the show for 2 hours. But that's so I compartmentalize that because you can't consume all of that constantly. And then people are talking, they're going back and forth, and now your anxiety levels are just going up, and it's crazy. No, you can't do it.
Yeah. So you save everything for the show.
You're
not
when I'm
wasting
like,
it all day.
I can tell when people like I get phone calls and there may be some radio shows. They're like, "Hey, can you do?" And most of them I say no because for that reason, if I'm having to do somebody's show at 7:30 or 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. I'm getting up. I can't go back to sleep. So now it has completely altered my day my mode of operation. So I'm not as sharp as I want to be at 6 p.m.
Okay.
So for me, the most important thing is how I'm moving at 6 p.m. So I'm giving my all when I'm on the show, giving my audience. I can literally feel when that's drained me all day. So when 6 o'clock comes around, I'm like trying to go, but you've been dealing with this for the last 10 hours.
Right. That makes sense. I get it. I definitely get it. I always wonder how people that have to deal with this stuff all day, every day, like
it's compartmentalized.
work it. I love that.
It's no different than I'll cover it when the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building blew up in Oklahoma City. I remember my room was in the newsroom. I was at the Fort Worth Telegram, and on the television was a local station, and they were doing one of their videos to all of those children who died in that bomb blast. And reporters were watching it. They started crying. They break it down. So I walked up, turned the television off, and I was like, "We have a job we got to focus on." So what was very interesting is that when you go into work mode, like everything shifts. I remember Sidney Poitier called me, and because he wanted to thank me when he stumbled at the Image Awards, and I caught him and I walked him to his car. And he had called people at TV One. They would call me and they were like, Sidney Poitier's trying to reach you. And I was like, okay, why don't y'all just give him the number?
Right.
And he calls, and he's like thanking me, but then he starts talking about how important my voice is. And I'm like, this is Sidney Poitier. And I'm literally tearing up. I mean, he's talking about my voice, how important it is and what it means to our people. And I'm like, I go, okay, I'm not about to sit here and break down. So I had my laptop open anyway. So I immediately started typing what he was saying. So I immediately shifted into work mode, and it shut all of that off, and it was just type what he has to say.
Yes.
So that's the other piece as well. When you're a journalist, when you have to cover tragedies, when you have to cover fires and again, terrorist attacks, you have to learn to go to a place that is non-emotional, that is you block all that sort of stuff out, and it's completely tunnel vision, and that's really what it is.
So now that you're here in Raleigh, you're going to be completely tunnel vision about this St. Aug situation.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
we've been for several years doing these stories and understand. And let me be clear, for the life of me, I don't understand why St. Aug's leadership, administration, and board doesn't want to come on. It's stupid. I did a town hall at Bethune-Cookman. Students' parents were calling me, complaining about what was going on. And we reach out, trying to have folks on. And see, everybody wants to get skittish. Everybody wants to run from issues. No, you have to confront what the issues are.
Yes.
And so when I went down, so initially they were like, well, come to campus and see for yourself. I went, okay. What date? All of a sudden it was like, oh damn, did he just agree to come? And then all of a sudden, oh no, we're not doing anything on campus. So then we scheduled it at a church. Well, then they leaned on the church a few days before the town hall to cancel us coming.
Seriously?
And I'm like, y'all didn't think I was going to get another church? Like, I had one in 8 hours. So we did that. But when I landed, I did an interview with the interim president, talked about the issues. We aired that during the town hall. They didn't attend, but I still did the interview. Well, the St. Aug folks don't want to talk. And so you have problems. You have fundamental problems. How do you not have students on campus? Why are there all of these questions? Why do you continue to have financial issues? This is very simple.
Right. If
you continue to have financial problems and you're about to lose accreditation, you have a functional problem with administration and you have a problem with your board of trustees. This is not that difficult. Those of us who run businesses, you understand. If you're a business and you can't meet payroll, this is a radio station.
Yes.
Okay? This is very simple. If this station is having problems meeting payroll, Urban One is going to make a phone call, and the general manager is about to have a problem.
Yes, a big one.
Okay, that's business. And so this is the problem. And you have HBCU folks who are like, well, this is HBCU business. No, it's not. It's African American business. The reality is we're talking about institutions that black people funded, kept going. And how can we sit here and go, wow, Black folks went through Jim Crow, went through hell to keep these institutions open, and we're going to be on the verge of allowing them to die. Well, this is supposed to be the smartest, most successful, the richest generation of African Americans ever. That makes no sense to me. So people want answers. People want to know what's going on. Last night, I had the interim president of Talladega in Alabama. They had financial issues. They were not meeting their payroll. He comes in. They break this whole thing down. He lays out, this is a strategy. They cut several sports, saving them $300,000 a month. Went through this whole deal. So what ends? They had a news conference last week. They live streamed it, where he and the board chair answered all questions. He was on last night for 45 minutes talking about how they're fixing the problem. That's how you do it. You don't run. You don't sit here and run. And I'll say this here. So if you're the interim president, so you sit down with WRAL, but you don't sit down with a black-owned media company. For anybody out there who say, well, I check your bio, you went to Texas A&M. Yep. And guess what? There are 107 HBCUs. I have been to 60 of them.
Wow.
I have spoken at, done shows from 60 of the nation's 107 HBCUs. I've done 22 commencement addresses, 20 at HBCUs. My money has gone to HBCUs. So this is not a question of you, well, you're a PWI graduate, and I love when people do that. Well, guess what? Robert Smith graduated from Cornell. I don't hear anybody complaining when he get that $34 million in Morehouse.
I know that's right. Right.
See, a lot of people play that game, and I say, oh, but you don't mind that PWI check. The reality is alumni, students, faculty, staff, and the community have questions that need to be answered. And if you have not answered the questions adequately, it's a problem. When you send a press release and you say, well, we need positive support. No, what you need is you need to be having transparency. You need to be having honesty. There needs to be accountability. Somebody has to explain, how did St. Aug get $35 million during COVID? Which a lot of other HBCUs, it saved them. I got the spreadsheet right here. Congressman Jim Clyburn sent it to me. I have the spreadsheet that shows how every HBCU, public and private, all of that money that came down during COVID. St. Aug got $35 million. When I was at Alabama State, the president said they used that COVID money to pay off their debt to then be able to grow the university. I heard the exact same thing with other universities. Okay, St. Aug, what happened in your case? How did you not use that moment to handle your finances? I was a scholar in residence at Fisk. Fisk did the exact same thing. So how did all these other HBCUs go through COVID and manage to be able to deal with that? How do you have 2 new lawsuits? Now you got an IT company suing you. So here's the problem. Again, talking to Dr. Walter Kimbrough last night. What did he say? He said there were lawsuits that were settled. Every time a lawsuit is filed, you got legal fees.
Yeah.
That's money coming out of the budget. And so people have questions, and our whole deal is, hey, let's come here, let's have a conversation. And when you keep saying you want people's support, well, you have to give an account. If your family member comes to you for $500,
Right.
and 6 months later they come to you for $1,000, you're like, hold up. You came to me for $500.
Right.
Then they come back to you 3 months later, and they still got financial problems. Then a year later, they coming back to you like, hold up. This is the
going
4th
on?
time you come to me asking me for money.
Right.
No, we got to sit down and have a conversation. And that's what this is. How do you get to the root of the problem, and how are you going to fix it so this university and the community is not in peril? And the most important thing is you have to protect land. And there's no doubt in my mind that there are interests that want that land. That land is valuable. And there's no way in the world any institution should be looking up to give up that land because you have short-term problems because you don't know how to manage your money.
all of this to say, we're going to be discussing this tonight. Roland's
Yeah.
going to be talking about all of this tonight at his Roland Martin Unfiltered Town Hall. It is happening at Martin Street Baptist Church at 6 p.m. tonight, 1005 East Martin Street in downtown Raleigh. Do you anticipate that you will get any sort of participation and or response from the leadership over at St.
Oh, no. They've already sent an email out saying they had nothing to do with it. They actually asked us not to even use the logo on our flyer. I told them no. They asked us to take it down. I said absolutely not. And we're not going to be in attendance. And here's the deal: they are invited to attend. This is not a gotcha issue. This ain't no inside edition. Okay, we're coming to hear gotcha. No. If you are, this is very basic and fundamental for me. If you are asking for support of the black community to help you get through this issue, then you have to explain to the black community first, how did you get into this problem? Who allowed this problem to go on for so long?
Yes.
And what is the exact plan that you're going to fix it? When you go to a credit reorganization group, it's okay, what's your plan to deal with this? When you go through a bankruptcy, they have bankruptcy reorganization.
Right.
That's the whole deal. It's the exact same thing. And so these things are critically important. We can't, I am a fundamental believer in maintaining, building, supporting black institutions. I'm tired of black institutions surviving. I want black institutions to thrive.
Yes.
But you can't thrive unless you get to the root issue of how did you allow this to happen, and who allowed it to happen, and are they still in charge? Are they in charge of the administration? Or are they in charge with the board? And I'm gonna tell you right now, my experience, and listen, there are 30 HBCUs president. I got on speed dial, and I'm gonna tell you right now, the greatest, most fundamental problem when we have HBCUs that are constantly in trouble, it's an inept, incompetent board of directors, a board of trustees. Because there are people too often who have egos, who have no power anywhere else. They run nothing else.
Yes.
They've never been in control of that amount of money. So now they are all of a sudden in a position of power, and they always are fighting with the president. You got people on the board, a board chair who wants to run the university when that's not your job. Your job is to deal with the president. The president runs the university. Your job is oversight, fiscal responsibility. That's your job. And so if a university is having fiscal problems, you look to president and board to go, how did you allow this to happen? How are you not checking these various things? And that's really the issue here. And so if you're going to ask the community, and when we say the community, local but also national, to help save you, then you got to explain what you're going to do as a plan of action to take the resources that we can provide. And see, they may think, well, he's just a little small show. I saw WRAL had a story that said Roland Martin's podcast. Let's be real clear. We do 30 million views a month. We got almost 2 million subscribers on our YouTube channel. When Tiffany Lofton came on my show for my March 4th broadcast, in fact, that night, our numbers were higher than only 3 other major networks.
Wow. That's impressive.
3.
3.
That's it. Only other. And here's the deal. When she said they were doing the student association, she says, hey, we got 35 FAMU students that had the money come in. I was like, how much y'all trying to raise? She's like, 39 grand. We raised 84,000 that night.
Oh my gosh.
We raised a total of 107,000. Okay? My donors in 6.5 years, 35,000 donors to my show have donated nearly $4 million. So, saying all, if you trying to have some folk help you out, my community is black, and they believe in black institutions. But you're going to have to explain what happened and how you're fixing it before anybody cuts a check.
All right, tonight, Roland Martin, he is doing his town hall in downtown Raleigh at Martin Street Baptist Church, 6 p.m., doors open at 5, and everything's going to be streaming live on the Black Star Network.
And I'll be signing my book, White Fear.
Oh, and he'll be signing his book, White Fear.
How
there.
the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds.
Oh,
So,
Lord, they losing it. They are
yes.
losing it.
But here's the everything that's happening right now, I literally called all of this in 2009. And I kept warning people. I can pull speeches. When I was on CNN, I said then, in 2009, we are living in the beginning stages of white minority resistance. And I said, this is about to be a 50-year war because they cannot handle America becoming a nation people of color by 2043. And folks are like, man, you tripping. I was like, okay. And then when my book dropped in 2022, they were like, dang, bro. I was like, I tried to tell y'all. It was sitting right here in front of us. But too many people in 2009 were caught up in, oh, this is a post-racial America. And I was like, no.
And the pendulum swung in the exact opposite direction.
Yeah,
and
because because that's American history.
Yes.
In American history, you can go back to 1619. In American history, there's never been a period of black success that was never followed by white backlash. Never. That is American history. Every period where black people succeeded for a period of time followed immediately by white backlash.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're in town. I'm so glad that you're going to talk about this St. Aug situation. When you live in the Triangle, you look up and St. Aug is on the news a lot. So there are a lot of questions that people have, the community has.
And you shouldn't be in the news for crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You should be in the news for how you're achieving, how your students are achieving. I ran the Chicago Defender. They lost money for 20 consecutive years. They were always in the news for negative stuff.
Right.
When I walked in, I said, no, we ain't doing that. But I had to make immediate changes. So I know what it's like to take over an institution that is historic, that is beloved, but that also is broke and is broken, and how do you have to fix it? And so, yeah, that should not be the story. It should not always be, if you hear the name St. Aug on television, on radio, you immediately go, hold on, what they do?
What now?
What now?
Yeah.
That should not be the goal.
All right, you can check out Roland Martin tonight either on his YouTube channel or live on the Black Star Network or live right there at the town hall happening at 6 o'clock in
Pack it
Bourbon
out.
Street Baptist Church. The doors open at 5 p.m. It's free for everybody to come, so the entire community can come out. And thank you, Roland, for what you do and
Appreciate it.
taking some time out to talk to us. Tell everybody how to follow you real quick.
Real easy. All social media, I'm Roland S. Martin. The site is rolandmartin.com. And again, we have my show. It's every night, 6 p.m. Eastern. We live stream. We restream it. We got 4 other shows on the Black Star Network. So you can download our app. It's on all platforms. It's 100% black owned. I don't answer to anybody. Only person on our flow chart above me is God.
Okay.
And so that's why we are able to say what we can say and do what we do, because we don't ask anybody for permission.
Well, we look forward to hearing what you got to say tonight. I know you got some things to say.
I got a couple of things.
A couple of things. All right, thanks, Roland. We're Foxy 107, 104.